Let me ask you a question. What if I told you you can build millions of dollars in wealth, use that money whenever you want, and legally avoid paying taxes? It sounds illegal, right? But it's not. It is called buy, borrow, die strategy. And this is how many wealthy individuals structure their finances, not just to grow money, but to protect it and pass it on to the next generation. But here's the thing, most people hear this concept and never truly understand on how it actually works. So in this video, I'm going to be breaking down step by step with a real life example in a way that actually makes sense. So let's get into it. Let's assume a very normal situation. You are an employee in Canada earning around $100,000. After taxes, after your expenses, let's say you are still able to save around $15,000 to $20,000 every single year. Now, most people at this stage either increase their lifestyle or just keep sitting in a savings account. But let's assume you decide to do something different. You take that $15,000 every year and instead of spending it, you start investing. Maybe in the stock market, real estate, mutual funds, ETFs. Your goal is simple, is to buy assets, not the liabilities. Now, over time, your investment starts growing. Let's say after a few years, your portfolio reaches $100,000, then $200,000, then $500,000, and eventually it crosses $1 million. Now, here's something very important to understand. As your investment grows, you are not paying taxes on that growth until you sell, and this is called unrealized gains. Let me explain this clearly. If you invest $100,000 and it grows to $500,000, you made $400,000 in profit, after which 50% would be tax-free, rest would be taxed based on your tax bracket. But as long as you are not selling it, that profit is not taxed. It exists on paper, and this is the first secret of wealthy. They don't rush to sell their assets. Now you have assets, your net worth is growing, but most people at this stage makes a mistake. They think the only way to use the money is by selling it, and that's where the taxes come into the picture. Let's say after 10-15 years, you need a large amount of money, maybe $500,000 or maybe $1 million. Now you have two options. Option number one is to sell your assets, sell your investment. But the moment you sell, you trigger capital gains taxes, possibly hundreds and thousands of dollars going to CRA. And option number two, don't sell, borrow, which means you go to the bank, use your assets as collateral. Now the bank is comfortable giving you a loan because you already have assets backing it up. And here's the crazy part. Loan is not income, which means it is not taxable in Canada. So now you have access to the cash without even selling your investment and without even triggering taxes. Let's make this very simple. Let's say your investments are growing around 8% every year and your loan interest rate is around 5 to 7%. So what's happening is your investments are growing faster than the cost of borrowing, which means even after paying interest, you are still coming out ahead. And at the same time, your original investment are still compounding. So now you are in a powerful position. You keep your asset invested, borrow against them when needed, and use that money for your lifestyle or investment. And your net worth keeps growing in the background. This is how wealth multiplies without interruptions. Now, let me warn you and let me be very clear. This is not a beginner strategy. There are risks involved. If the market drops, if the interest rate rises, if you overborrow, things can go wrong. So this strategy requires discipline, planning, and proper guidance. Now, let's come to the final step. And honestly, the most misunderstood part. What happens when you pass away? In Canada, when someone passes away, there is something called deemed disposition. When a person passes away, the government treats all their assets as if they were sold on the same day at fair market value. Let's take a simple example. You build a portfolio worth $1 million. Your original investments were around $400,000. That means you have $600,000 of gains. When you pass away, the government assumes that you sold everything. Now that $600,000 taxable, roughly about 50% would be tax-free and rest 50% would be taxed based on the tax bracket, and your estate could easily owe around $150,000 to $300,000 in taxes. Now, think what happens next. Your family needs to come up with that cash, and often the only way to do that is by selling the assets, selling the investment, selling the property, and breaking down every single piece of wealth that you spend your entire life building. And this is where the strategy either fails or works perfectly. Let's talk about how wealthy individuals solve this problem. They plan ahead. Instead of leaving a tax burden, they create liquidity. And the most common tool used for this is a permanent life insurance policy, and most commonly, a whole life policy. Now, why a whole life policy? Because whole life insurance is designed to last your entire life. It also has a guaranteed coverage, and it pays out when you pass away. Not if, but when. So let's say you build a 1 million portfolio. You estimate that your tax liability at that could be around $250,000 to $300,000, and instead of leaving that problem to your family, you purchase a whole life insurance policy, maybe around $500,000 or even $1 million in coverage. Now, when you pass away, that insurance payout comes in 100% tax-free to your estate, and your estate receives that cash immediately. That cash is used to pay the tax, cover the liabilities, and still leave wealth to your family. Now, what happens to your assets? They stay intact. Your family doesn't need to sell anything. Your investment, your property, and your portfolio passes on properly to your heirs. This is missing piece of the buy, borrow, die strategy. So now let's connect everything together. You buy assets and let them grow. You avoid selling, so you defer taxes. You borrow against those assets to fund your lifestyle or opportunities and grow your portfolio. And when you pass away, the tax bill created by deemed disposition is covered by a life insurance. That completes the cycle. And that's buy, borrow, die strategy. Think of it like this. Most people build wealth and then destroy it by selling it and paying taxes. But with this strategy, you can build wealth, use it without selling, and protect it for the next generation. Now, one important thing to understand. This strategy is not about avoiding tax completely. It is controlling when and how taxes are paid, and more importantly, making sure your wealth is not destroyed in the process. And I want you to understand something very important. Wealth is not just about earning money, it's about structuring it, because two people can earn the same income but end up with completely different results based on how they used the strategies. And with that said, we have finally reached to the end of this video. If you found this video helpful, make sure you subscribe, because I break down complex financial strategies in the simplest way possible for Canadians. If you want to build a strategy like this, and if you want my help, I have added a link in the description box below where you can book a free strategy call with me, where I would be going over on your finances and show you on how exactly you can fit this strategy into your portfolio. Until then, see you in the next video.